I'm going to show you a couple of different ways of making molds for precious metal clay. You can duplicate items, just about any item in precious metal clay by making a mold. This is a silicone RTV. RTV stands for room temperature vulcanizing. That means that it doesn't need to be set up with heat. The parts are simply mixed together, sort of like epoxy, and they set up at room temperature. So we're going to mix our parts together here. We need equal parts. It's really important to get equal parts of each color. There's a part A and a part B. Mix these together very well so it's completely one color. And we have this material in 3 different colors. I'm using the lemon, and all the colors are the same material, they're just a different color for whatever reason you might like one color over another or need it for coating. So I've got enough material here now for 2 molds. So I'm going to take a small part. Here is a little plastic ivy leaf that I got from the craft store, and I'm just going to press this face down into the mold material and press it with one of my acrylic work surfaces so that it's completely level. And then I just need to press in the edges so that it's not beveled. And now I have a texture tip, and I'm going to make a mold of one of our texture tips here. I just mix the material and press the tip in, and I want to make sure that it's level. It may not look level from here since the camera is a little off center. Now here's another way to make a mold. I'm going to make a mold of this beautiful little antique button. And what I want to do is I want to, it's got a shank on the back of it, and I need that shank to be out of the way, and I want to press it down to a certain level. And you'll see that in a minute here. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to use this Sculpey Mold Maker as my base to hold the button in place while I'm making the mold of it. So I'm just simply going to press this flat. And I'm going to press my button into the Sculpey Mold Maker. This has got nice detail, nice pattern. You see, I'll need to get rid of this here, and I don't want it quite that thick. So I'll press this down into the Sculpey Mold Maker to the level that I want. And now I'll mix up my Mega Mold material. I want to make sure I've got equal parts. I'm just going to look at these little gobs and make sure they're equal. Mix these up. You can see it doesn't stick to your fingers. It's completely non-toxic material. This is really a wonderful, wonderful material, and the detail that it picks up is just incredible. Now I'm just going to place this, make sure that it's perfect the way I want it. Check the side to see that it's even all the way around. And I'm just going to press my mold material over the top, and I'm going to make sure that it's completely covered. It's not too thin anywhere, and that I've got nice even coverage all around. And I'll just let this set up, and then I'll have a mold of this beautiful antique button. Okay, now we're going to fill these molds. I've already filled the 2 smaller molds, and now I'm going to fill the larger button mold. And I try to avoid touching the clay as much as possible, so I cut pieces off with my palette knife, and that just helps to avoid the touching. You can see I've got nothing on my finger. I've treated my hands with Claymate, our anti-stick hand conditioning cream that keeps the metal clay from sticking to your fingers. It works wonderfully. Now I'm just going to press the clay into the mold, pressing it down to make sure that I've filled all the areas. You can see this mold is flexing a little bit because it does have a rounded top on it. So I'm just going to take my Sculpey mold maker that I used previously and press the mold down into that to give me a sturdier base so that this mold won't flex while I'm filling it. Now I'm going to pull this clay back away from the edges to make sure that it all fills the mold and doesn't go over the edges. And just kind of pull back on that, make sure that everything is nice and level. And then I'm going to texture the back side of it. This is optional. I've just taken a texture tile that's been treated with Cool Slip and pressed it over the back. Here I've filled the molds and I'm demolding them. You can see how the metal clay doesn't stick to this silicone at all, and I've got now a really nice impression and picks up the detail very nicely. Here's another way of making a mold. I'm going to use Sculpey Mold Maker for this button here. I'm going to just peel off a little bit of this here and knead it a little bit to soften it up. And then I want to put a piece of plastic cling wrap down. Get a nice ball here. And then cover it with the cling wrap. Make sure there's no wrinkles in it. And then just press it down with one of my work surfaces. So I've got a nice flat base to make my mold on. Peel that plastic away. And now I'm just going to press my button down into the Sculpey Mold Maker. And now that's the way that I like it, so I can remove the button. I'm just using a large needle tool for this, putting it through the shank and peeling the button up. And then this is ready to bake at 275 for 15 minutes per 1/4 inch of thickness. I'm going to first actually press this flat again just to make sure that it's nice and flat. Yeah, that's a nice little mold. Now this will stay flexible after it bakes.